Thanks, Lauren, for joining us today for this interview series. You're one of our first founders that we are talking to know about your journey and how, as a woman, you have, launched a product, raised funding, and it is something that is loved by celebrities as well. And when I speak of celebrities, I saw Kim Kardashian and other global stars, using your products. So please
Mhm.
tell us about your journey starting from your childhood. You had immigrant parents, and how was it for you to grow up with them, grow with your family, and how was it that they influenced your career decisions?
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting because they gave me a drive that I didn't really know that I would have had, but I guess the journey along the way sort of led me to that. But I guess that they came here after the Second World War and saw Australia as a really great opportunity to do anything really. But I still did have this sort of instilled value that you had to get a really reliable job and, work in something that's known, like accounting or being a lawyer or a doctor. So I guess I was deep down always very creative, but I was pushed in that direction, I think, just because it's stable and it's consistent. And so I was always sort of pushing against that. But as I went along and I sort of found different careers that I liked, I learned a lot along the way about what I'm good at. And I feel like I'm at that point in my life where I'm really aware of what I'm good at. I had children and they brought out a really creative side of me as well. And then it was after them and sort of being very stressed out that I launched Heat Healer and I went off on my own. So it's a very different sort of, I don't know, experience, but I think a lot of founders had that same sort of story, and they get their experience through working through the corporate world and then sort of learning what they like, and then they can come and do what they love.
Yeah, but how many years did you work in a corporate job? And I read in one of your interviews that you were quite unfulfilled while working there, and you always wanted to explore the creative side of yours, like you just mentioned. So,
Yeah.
how is it that you navigated through that journey of being in the job market and decided, okay, now is the time that I need to move on?
Yeah. Well, I did my degree in economics and I enjoyed that, but I went into like sort of the natural path of going into a internship, and then I went into being a consultant in the same firm, and I sort of went along that path because I thought that was what I was meant to do. So I was okay at it, but I never felt like I was really striving. An opportunity came up to work at a business called 𝐬𝐻𝐻𝐻, which makes flip flops, and they're very we call them thongs here, but they're like, rubber shoes that you wear on the beach, and they're very popular here. So an opportunity came up which sort of balanced the numbers that I was doing at the accounting firm that I was working at and creativity. And so this opportunity came up and I took that, and because it was a smaller business, they allowed me to have a lot of experience in different parts of the business, and I think that's where I learned the most amount of things. So I was at the accounting firm in a corporate role for around 4 years, and then I was at 𝐬𝐻𝐻𝐻 in that sort of sales marketing type position for around 7 years. So that's the period of time that I worked before I actually went on to start Heat Healer.
Wow. Do you remember a day when you decided in your mind that today might be your last day and you will tell the team that you're resigning?
Well, the accounting firm that was a bit more of a shock, I think, to everyone, because you sort of have your career path laid out for you. And the structure of the corporate world is like, it's a structure, and you keep, progressing and progressing. So everyone was like, why are you leaving? Even my babsha, who's my grandmother, she was like, why are you leaving? This is such a good stable job. Like, you've got your path here. Why would you leave that? So I think that was much more of a sort of shock to everyone. But I had this intuitive feeling that I knew that it was the right thing to do.
But
So
when
then
yeah, but when you left, did you have in mind what you're going to do next? Were you already prepared, or you just wanted to take a break and see what's next for you?
Well, so when I left the accounting firm, I went straight to work at Havaianas. And then actually it was having children, and I went back to work after my first child, but then I had twins. And so I had a period of time off where I had a lot of time to think about what I wanted to do. And I really didn't want to go back and do what I was doing. I wanted to sort of forge my own path then. And so that's when I decided in my mind that there was something out there for me. And I went on a journey for about, I don't know, maybe 6 months of looking at different things and doing a lot of work on myself to find out what I'm good at. And then that sort of led me into founding Heat Healer. So it was children that did it.
But how is it connected to your product? How did your children give you an idea that you should start something in this field?
Yeah. So they stressed me out a lot. I was really stressed. I had a lot of health problems that came up after I had the twins. I had septic shock from mastitis from feeding them. I had lots of gut issues. I've always been into wellness. I love wellness, and I love designing things. I love interior design and making products, and I'd always be doing a project, some sort of project in my life. And so it all sort of pieced together and became this one thing. And then I just ran with it, and it was amazing. And I just found that I was really good at it. And we went through many product iterations. I had to work with engineers to get the product just right. There was all these things that I was doing that I was learning, and it was amazing. So yes, it was being stressed out by my children that led me into founding a wellness product.
Well, before I get into more of how did you go about your research and talking to engineers, I just want to pick up on on one point that you mentioned, that you thought that maybe entrepreneurship is not something that you were meant to do, and taking a traditional career trajectory is what you were meant to do. So how did that thought come into your mind? Were you told in the society or by your parents maybe that, okay, this is the career path that looks great, it's a stable one and you should go for it? Or what was the formulation process of your thought?
For being in the corporate role, or for going down entrepreneurial?
That you are meant to be in the corporate world when you were in the corporate field.
Yeah, I think it was just my family just wanting me to have something safe and secure that was known, and sort of like a guaranteed path of success and income, and I don't know, position in society as well. I guess that's what it was.
Yeah, but do you think women generally tend to go with what the society thinks is the best option for them and not for their own self? Because I've seen a lot of cases happening. And, if I put a man into that same position, maybe he would have, fought with the family, or maybe have presented his opinion confidently that, okay, I don't see myself here. Why should I even do it? But women generally succumb to all that she's been told, and she will choose that path, and of course gracefully choose it and excel at it, not denying that, but will leave her own ambitions behind. Is that something that happened to you as well?
Yes, I think I had sort of that risk adverse mindset from my family, and I hadn't really seen any of my family members model something that was like an entrepreneurial drive. So I didn't really see it. But I found my whole life that I've looked to external people. Like, I think I mentioned in an article that I was in Forbes that I use this term called expanders that I learned from a manifestation coach. And it's like finding people that are outside of your circle so that you can expand your sort of possibilities in your mind of what's what you can do. And so I think just because we're so exposed to social media and the news and everything, and I think that I saw a lot of people making it possible, that led me to think it was possible, rather than just looking at what was in my family circle. And I had to convince them.
Yeah.
I just convinced them that I wasn't being crazy or irrational. And I think I think maybe a man might not feel like he has to justify it. But I always did feel like I had self-doubt.
Mm.
And I'm just only now coming to feel like I've let the self-doubt go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, even though if you become confident of what you're going to do, the tough part is to get the validation. And that is not even required. But as women, we generally tend to seek that from people around us. But how do you think can we overcome that feeling? Because sometimes it's destructive in some sense or the other if you go to see.
Yeah. How to overcome validation.
Mental health and well-being now. I thought it'll be apt for me to ask you this.
Yeah. So something that I'm constantly working on now is that voice inside of your head. I realize that it's not always so kind, and I've decided that I'm going to talk like to myself the way that I talk to my children, which is kind and empathetic and self-compassionate, and not sort of saying, oh no, you can't do it, or that sort of thing. So I think that changing the way that you talk to yourself is a really big thing, and being kind, and because I think we just are ingrained to just have that sort of negative self-talk.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's a huge, it's big time that we change our mindsets, because that's also one of the reasons why we don't see many women taking up entrepreneurship, or even for that matter, after taking up, they doubt their own judgment or their abilities, and they're not
Yeah.
able to present that perfectly to the investors. I've women are not so good at presenting their pitches because they don't like to talk about things that they haven't done. They only speak about the present things that they are onto, and they miss out on conveying the bigger picture, although it's there in their mind, but they don't just feel like presenting it because they haven't put their hands into it. Whereas a man would always come and tell, okay, this is what I want to achieve, this is my vision, this is how I'll take it to the moon, and suddenly you have that investor's attention onto you. But
Mm.
of your story of pitching, how did it go for you? How was your first pitch?
And we're actually, my husband, my partner, who he sort of helps me, he's actually in venture capital. So we are fully self-funded.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's so cool. But self-funded as in you've put your own money, or your husband has, put money from his fund?
No, we've gotten loans. So because he works in venture capital,
Yeah.
he's really sort of conflicted with getting on like we're very careful. We haven't actually taken any external investment yet. So we've taken out loans to help product, and then we invest all of our money back into the product. So he knows that, like, you've got to be really careful about who you take on board as an investor, because it's essentially part of your business, and you want to make sure you're getting the right investor that can help you drive your business. So at this stage, we're fully self-funded and don't have any investment, even though he's in venture capital.
That's pretty cool, because having a bootstrap company like this, it's not so easy, because you're selling products, and putting so much money into research and production is a task in itself. So coming back to what we were chatting on, how did you get into the research of this product?
Yeah. So when I was really stressed out with my children, I came across the concept of a sauna blanket, and I got a sample just from Amazon, and I was really unhappy with the quality and the materials, and I don't think there was any testing on the product, and it sort of didn't meet my standard of what I thought should be a really robust, beautiful experience. And so then I designed it from the ground up, which I love doing. I love design. And then I worked with an engineering company that helped do the electronics of it and make sure it's like super robust, it meets Australian standards and all the necessary testing certifications that we need to meet. It's a really painful process actually with all the testing and the certifications, because when it's a heated electrical product, it's very hard. But going through that process, I feel like ours is like the best that you can get.
Yeah.
So I feel really confident in our product, and it was a really good learning process. It was a very costly one, and it's very painful because sometimes you see people bring out similar products and they just rush it onto the market and they don't consider it. But I think now that we did that in the first place and, you know, made sure everything was really beautiful quality and that we knew every single component and every single material that went into it, then we were, you know, went into it feeling very confident that we were there for the long term.
And what time frame did you take to do this research that, okay, these are the ingredients of your product and this is how it should be done? And how did you actually find, production people to make this come live?
Yeah, it was probably around 2 years of looking at different fabrics, looking at samples, working with the engineering company to perfect it. And we've already had another iteration where we've made our controller smaller and more compact and things like that. So, and we're about to come out with another iteration as well, because as we go along, we get lots of feedback from our customers. We're really always listening and, you know, trying to make it the best it can be. It was actually really painful and uncharted territory, and it's just calling around, like to find the engineering company that we found, it was a lot of research, like just calling and speaking to people on the phone, and they don't even, a lot of the time they're like, what is a sauna blanket, like what is that, like they don't even know. Sort of, you have to go on that journey and know the inside out of everything.
Yeah, the other day only I was reading a quote by Elon Musk. He said that entrepreneurship is only for the people who have high pain threshold, because you have to go through so much, so many rejections, and yet be shameless and still keep chasing the goal, because you never know when it turns out in your favor. But if I were to take back you in those days when you were researching and calling people every day, how would your normal day look like, the normal day of hustling? When you just started out?
Hustling doesn't stop. It's like 24/7. It never stops. You're always hustling. So the thing is, it's unpredictable. So you're always just looking for opportunities and how you can learn as much as you can. It's really hard work. I think a lot of people just see the success that comes at the end of it, or not the end of it, but like along the journey, and it's like a lot of pain. You're right. That's a really good quote from Elon Musk.
Yeah, true. But when you launched your first product, how did you go about marketing it? Because everything ultimately boils down to that. You have made a great product. Now, how do you get that to people? So, what all steps did you take to actually make sure that people know about what you've created?
Well, a lot of the first marketing came through word of mouth and through Facebook and Instagram advertising. That's how it really kicked off. And we did a very small test where I think we purchased 200 units that we were going to sell to see how the market took to it. And we sold it out in 2 weeks. And that test then also that gave us some money to put back into buying more stock the next time. And it was just hustling again. Like we had quite a few well-known celebrities that tried our product out in the beginning. They did it free of charge. We had no obligation for them to post anything. We just said, we'd love to get your feedback and see what you think. And they'd post about it, and that's where it sort of started.
Oh wow, so you're saying it organically happened. You didn't like give them money to talk about your product, but they loved it so much that they did it themselves.
Yeah.
But that's the outcome of it. But when we speak of the input, how is it that they even got to respond to what you had reached out to them for? Because many people reach out to them for many different things and products, but rarely do they get a response. So, do you think it was a combination of hard work, of course, and luck when you got a response from them and they
Yes.
spoke about it?
Yes. I think that there's always an element of luck, but it's how you seize the luck and take that opportunity and run with it. So I think that the timing was really good. People were interested in saunas. People were interested in like this unusual looking product. It was very unusual and, it got their attention. So, and it only takes one. So, one person can post about it and then someone else sees it and then they're like, oh, that looks interesting. And so it sort of opens up a little bit more communication each time.
Right. But
Yeah.
how is it that you reached out? If you could just tell us about your pitch to them, and did you? I'm sure you didn't reach out to them on Instagram because it's very difficult to catch their attention there. You must have done it through some email ID or through their marketing manager.
No,
Was it
I did. I reached out through Instagram.
Instagram? Really?
Yeah, but the most important thing was finding people that really align with your brand and product. So I would trawl through Instagram, finding people and finding a little something that's personal. And, I'd be like, well, I can see that you like saunas. Like, I'd love for you to try our sauna. It looks like it'll align with your, values and everything. And that's sort of how I got the pitch going. But yes, it was direct through Instagram.
Wow. It's actually very surprising and exciting to see that, it doesn't matter that where you're reaching out, it just matters what your purpose is. And
Yeah.
it reiterates the fact that, don't be afraid just by the looks of it. To reach out to anyone. Most of the founders get afraid, okay, this person is too big for them to talk to. But if they think that, okay, what I'm doing is a
Yeah.
fit to the world in general, then
Yeah.
your tone changes, everything changes.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that it happened with you. But as a women founder, was it difficult ever to deal with engineers or your product managers, or to get the product out in the market? Because people might not really believe in what you do, initially, and it takes a lot of time, like you said, to convince people around before and after launching as well. So how was it for you in that case?
I think that is part of my personality, that I've got sort of a fire inside of me, no pun intended, with the sauna. But I just keep going until I get what I want.
Yeah.
So that's sort of something I think that you need to have. But I had a strong belief that I was doing something that was going to have a good outcome if I had a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. But what were some of the mistakes that you made as an entrepreneur and you still do and learn from it?
Not to take anything too personally. That's been really hard because, like you said before, there's rejection all the time and you get knocked back, and I take it really personally. And I'm only just starting to now be like, it's okay, because opportunities come all the time. So not everything is going to work out. And it's actually a really good thing. Sometimes I look back at things that didn't work out, or influences that didn't work out that I really wanted, to try a product, and then it didn't happen or whatever like that. But then something bigger is going to come. If you're working hard towards it, something else will present itself. So it's always just sort of identifying that there's lots of opportunities. You don't have to do every single one of them.
Yeah. But speaking on self-doubt, you also mentioned in some of your interviews that every time your boss called you, you thought he was about to fire you. Why was that feeling inside you, given the fact that you were a good performer in the organization?
Yeah. I think it's something that we have as women, is that we're perfectionists, and we think if we're not doing every single thing perfectly, that we're failing. So it's that sort of mindset again, that if you're not perfect, then you're a failure. And I think I had that. And I was wrong. You don't have to always believe it. They're just thoughts in your head. So you don't have to believe every single thought that comes up in your head. And I think that's, again, that inner dialogue that you need to work on.
Yeah, but I'm so glad that you are talking about this, because many young women who are working right now might be facing the same issue. But of course, it takes time and experience and conviction to believe in yourself and what you do, and that's how your thoughts change over time. But how is it that they can change right now, so that they also don't have to go through the same journey of thought process and taking things hard on themselves? What can they do right now?
Right now, I think it's like, don't be hard on yourself. You don't have to do everything perfectly, and you're allowed to make mistakes, because we learn from our mistakes. They're important. The mistakes are important. So I think it's just being kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself right now.
Yeah. And speaking of, some strategic initiatives that you might have taken to grow your business, what are some of the ways in which you collaborated with partners around to grow your sales, apart from, of course, outreaching to celebrities? What were the other ways?
Yeah, so definitely collaborating with other like-minded businesses. So not someone that's in direct competition with you, but complements your business. So, there's a few they're actually mostly women, that I collaborate with online, like from lymphatic drainage experts to acupuncture experts, naturopaths. That they've got sort of similar followings, and we sort of back each other, and we'll collaborate in different ways, not just with celebrities. And then the other way that we've been able to grow a business is through retail partnerships as well. So finding retailers that sort of instill our similar values, and we think we'll do a good job of showcasing our brand, and working with them because they've got their own audiences and our product can be showcased there. So that's been really helpful as well.
Understood. Which was your first product that you launched, and which is the most used product at this point in time?
Yeah. So the first one was the sauna blanket, which is our hero product. But I am currently obsessed with the body belt, which is a heated body belt that you can put around your waist, your shoulders. So you can use it while you're working. All the girls in my office often fight about who's gonna. I have one at that everyone can sort of use in the office, and everyone fights over whose turn it is next. And that's the one that recently just had a lot of press. And we only released it 2 months ago, so now it's my favorite.
Got it. Looks very exciting. I must also try. Do you deliver to India?
We don't at the moment. I would love to, but that's the thing with being at the moment just self-funded, is that we can only purchase a certain amount of stock. So we're very slow into opening each market up, because you have to sort of have enough funds
Right.
to keep opening more and more markets.
Right.
So
So
hopefully one
currently,
day soon.
which location are you selling in currently? In Australia also, have you captured the whole country or certain states?
Australia, everywhere in Australia, and the US, Canada, and the UK.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to know that you've expanded into 4 markets, being self-funded. So, do you really see funding coming your way in the next few years, or do you think you can self-sustain it? Because in India itself, we have a couple of billion-dollar businesses which are bootstrapped till now, and they haven't raised any external funding.
Yeah. It's a very tough one, because I often have this conversation with my husband, who's in venture capital, And it would be really great to just grab, some money so we can fund a lot of stock and just open up everywhere. But I think it's made us be really considered about our product and make sure that everything is super robust, and that we're building a community on Instagram where we, often are the ones replying to everyone, and we're learning so much about our customer. So I think that this slow organic growth is good for us at the moment, even though, like I said, I would love to go out, but it comes with a lot of responsibility if you open up to all those markets. There's logistics, there's like planning the stock levels, and there's all these the marketing, there's all this stuff that comes, the customer service, so many things that come with it. So it's a lot of responsibility when you take on that funding too.
Yeah, but since you've expanded into 4 countries already and your word of mouth has been very strong, were you approached by any investor though?
Yes, we do. We get approached often, but it's just something that we're just sort of putting aside for now.
Okay.
And keeping it. I don't know. I've got to see.
Got it. And when I speak of feedback, how is it different when it comes from consumers, from your family members, and from any investors who might have looked at your product? Or is it the same that you've observed?
I feel so nervous when my family are trying out my products because I feel like they're the most critical. It's really hard to hear it because I'm like, they're going to just tell me everything, but my sister uses it, like one of my best friends just got it and they've given me the best feedback. So it's actually so far so good.
Understood. And have you ever had a negative feedback of sorts, which might not be intended towards harming you or the product, but might be towards, just saying how you can improve it? Have you received those kind of feedbacks from users where they're very blunt in saying that, okay, this is not comfortable for me, and this is how maybe you can look at it?
Yes, like we've definitely had, it's a very unusual product. So it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
So we've actually learned a lot from that. So, we listen to our customers a lot. There's certain things about it that someone might not like. So we've incorporated that into our purchasing. Where you purchase the product, we go into so much detail. We have videos. We've like sort of adjusted the way that you purchase it and the every point that you read before you buy our product as well. So we've reduced our return rate by doing that. So it's, really, again, you could like look at that as a negative thing, but it helps us perfect our product and perfect our selling process and sell to the right people, because we want everyone to be happy. We don't want to sell to someone that's not going to love our product. So we want it to be a good experience.
You mentioned it's not for everyone. So who's your target audience?
People that are into wellness, that love saunas, no doubt, that are looking for self-care, a way to relax. Maybe they like going to a sauna, but especially after COVID, there would be sauna places that you would go, and it's very easy to just do it in your own home. There's a lot of benefit that you can get from using a sauna at least 3 times a week, and that's something that you can actually try and incorporate into your sort of weekly routine by having it there, ready to go.
Yeah. Is it a product that is to be used daily, or people should use it at good intervals of time?
So you can use it daily, up to 60 minutes, but we'd recommend that you build up to it. At least 3 times a week is a great amount of time to use it to get the most benefit.
Got it. Speaking of benefits, what are some of the benefits that you get out of it? Of course, relaxation and mental peace is one of the key.
Yeah.
But apart from that, any physical benefits that you get out of it?
Yep. So it helps your detoxification pathways through sweating, supports the liver and the kidneys, and what else? It helps your immune system. It can boost your immune system. decrease inflammation. It basically mimics it, although it's not a replacement for exercise, it does mimic exercise through increasing your heart rate. So it's great for circulation. There's so many things, so many benefits from it. But
Wow, somebody gets to know that it's a replacement to exercise, they will instantly buy this, I'm telling you. Because what you have to do, you just have to lie down
I
in a
just lie
nice
down. No.
environment and get your fats burnt. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the best possible way to do it.
Yeah, but it's also good for post-workout recovery as well, because it relaxes your muscles, so, and increases the circulation, which sends blood to the muscles to repair.
Yeah. Now, how did
Yeah.
you decide on a price point to sell this? If you're okay to speak, what kind of margins do you get in this kind of business? How is it that, what's your production cost looking like, and the selling cost? How did you decide that, okay, this is the price point at which I'll sell? Because a sauna blanket is quite expensive.
It
At
is,
least, yeah.
yeah, but it's also very heavy. There's a
Yeah.
lot of technology that's involved. Being heavy, it's extremely expensive to ship.
Yeah.
It's expensive for a reason. We also offer like a 3-year warranty on it. So there's a lot of things that you have to consider when you're putting your price out. You can't just like put it out there and hope for things to happen. But it's also looking at your competitors. Like you got a competitive price in the market. So the margins aren't huge because there's a lot of costs that are involved to get it to the consumer. And so, yeah, it's an expensive product, but there's a lot to consider in it. So
How many consumers did you get at your first month, at the end of the first year? And now, where are we at? How many people do we have in our cult using Heat Healer?
I actually don't know the exact number right now, because it's probably increased quite a lot in the last month. I wouldn't be able to answer that, actually. I'm not sure. I would have to go back and look at my numbers.
Okay.
But it's thousands and thousands of customers. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also saw a product called Gem water bottle on your website. What is that about?
So that was actually another way that I forgot to mention when you were asking what the other ways that we have grown our business. So that was a collaboration with 𝐬𝐻𝐻, which make gem water bottles. So we actually collaborated, and the stones that are in the bottle that match our sauna blanket, and we had a branding collaboration on the bottle, and so and they're actually made in Germany. So they make them for us, and we had the co-branded and sort of worked on it together. So they also advertise that to their community, which is really cool.
But is it like normal water, or what's the benefit of?
So it's basically a high quality water bottle that has it's got a vial in it that has the crystals. Crystals have certain energetics to them and healing qualities. So you just put your normal water in there, and
Wow.
it's a beautiful way of drinking water.
It's very tough to sell a product like that, replacing your normal water with that bottle. But I think, as we call it, it's a rich man's disease, to buy expensive things, premium things, which most of the people can't. And I think that product might be selling well in that category. And if do they have a women co-founder of sorts, or is it a male-founded company?
I know it's a family. It's a family business. So I think they've been around for a very long time, like perhaps 70 years or something like that. Okay. So it's like the grandfather, the grandmother, the son. It's a beautiful little family business and we love that, because I guess we're a small business too. So
yeah, got it. But when it comes to building your team, how is it? to get people believe in your idea with full conviction and make them feel as if it's their own belonging that they have to grow? How did you
Yeah.
hire your first person in the team?
Um, I have sort of like a philosophy that not to micromanage, so to make sure that everyone is doing something that I can't necessarily do very well. So I don't want to just hire like another one of me in the business. I'm trying to find someone that's got a skill that I don't have, that are really passionate and good at that skill, and then bring them along the journey with the business. So, and giving them autonomy and not sort of just having trust in them. So, yeah, it
Well,
was.
how do you find really good-hearted people? Because when you tell them openly that, okay, you're good at this, which I am not, some people might just take it to their advantage and might be opportunistic in that sense. But if you have good people around you, they will always make sure that whatever they do, they give you the credits at the end of the day, even though you haven't contributed as much. But as a respect that they have for you, they will always, cherish the bond that you
Yeah.
have. So how did you find those kind of people for you?
That all comes down to networking. I think you were asking about my previous roles, and I was always networking, and in those businesses, I would know who's good at what job and try and meet as many people in the business as possible. So I sort of collect people along the way and know who's my go-tos, and formed relationships before I had this business. So that's sort of what I've done. And we're not the biggest business, so I've been able to get away with having people that I've met prior. I've not had to cold hire anyone yet.
Hmm. Got it.
Yeah.
So how big are you right now? How many team members?
We only have like 5 people that
Wow.
work directly for us, but one of my big things is to get contractors. So people that have their own business, and that because they've got their own business, say it's like a marketing agency or something like that, they own their own business. They want their business to do well. I want mine to do well. And I find that we've got a lot of common thoughts. So,
Got it. And with 5 people, what kind of roles have you created for them that they're absolutely good at, and get the business up and running? Because it's very, I'm sure that they might be so efficient that one person might be equal to 10 other people, and that's why you probably just have 5 great people working for you. So I want to know, what roles have you assigned to them to run your business?
yeah. Well, we've got like graphic design, and then we've got social media, and I actually think that one of the most important roles in any business is customer service, which often crosses over all aspects of the business. There's website development, design, and then there's the logistics as well. I do a lot of stuff myself as well. I pretty much work 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's there. But what are the timings that you have kept for your team? I'm sure that they might be extending beyond their hours also, because there's no such set time when it comes to a startup, and everybody in their mind thinks that it's their own business and they have to grow it anyhow, so they will work. But in office hours, if we consider, how many hours do they come for?
I am a firm believer that I don't think people can be productive for a huge amount of time in the day. And if they sit down and focus and get the work done, then I'm not going to sort of make them sit there so I'm very flexible in that way. And I believe people have families, they've got, there are things that they've got to do in the day to feel good about themselves. I'm really big on flexibility. So I wouldn't say the hours are sort of that 9 to 5 aspect, but sometimes things can fall over into I had to be up at 2 a.m. when the body belt was going live last week because of all the press that was coming out. So there's stuff like that comes up, and because you're flexible during the day when other things come up, I think they're more than happy to, do what needs to be done.
Right. I'm sure that you'll have launch of many good products going forward, and very excited to have a look at the website whenever they're live. But lastly, coming to the end of the interview, what is one piece of advice that you'd like to give to founders who are building up like yours?
Okay. One piece of advice. That's
I mean, you can of course, give two, three,
yeah.
whatever, how many ever you want. But
What do I want to say? I think a really important thing is just that when you're a founder, you can get caught up in success and, having to meet a certain number or do something. I think that, like, to be happy through that process, it's a journey, and it can be a very long journey to get to where you want to be. But I think like being, what was I going to say? Success doesn't measure your happiness. That's what I was going to say. Success doesn't measure your happiness. So I think just trying to be happy along the journey is a really good thing to do. And doing some work on yourself to find out what your values are, so that you can live an authentic life through the journey. Does that make sense?
yeah, it definitely does. Very profound thought. Many people would relate to it, because no matter what domain are you in, be it in the corporate world or startup, it applies to everyone, what you've said. And I'm very glad that you shared your own personal experiences. One question that I forgot to ask you was that, did you have any competitors when you started in this?
Yeah, we did. We had, there were two main competitors. I mean, there's many more competitors now, but we had another competitor in Australia, and they came literally the week that we launched. It was the same time.
Oh my God. How did
Yeah.
you ensure that you have an edge, or at least you have people who would prefer you over them?
So I think that's what we always are doing with any product that we release, is that we make sure that there's a point of difference. So I think it's really good to have competitors. I think it's great because it makes, that a sauna blanket, it wasn't like really a thing. And
Yeah.
because there's competitors, it makes it a thing. It's a market now.
It normalizes it.
Absolutely. And so they actually help us.
Yeah.
So
That's
there's
true.
room for everybody.
Yeah, in fact, the competition word itself in Latin means that to seek together to achieve a particular goal. It doesn't mean that you become rivals and go against each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But with
Yeah.
this, we come to the end of the interview. Thanks a lot, Lauren, for sharing everything with us. It was really great chatting with you for about an hour. Didn't know how time passed by. But yeah, we'll chat with you again once you launch a new product, and let's do an Instagram live then, where we have a look at your product live with your team. Maybe it'll be good for other women entrepreneurs also to see how beautifully you're growing and expanding.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. See you
Okay.
in India ever.
Okay. Also, yeah. Well, now that we can travel again,
Yeah.
hopefully soon, I'd love to come.
Yes. Cool. Have a good day.
You
Bye.
too. Thank you. Bye.